So let me now work on these. So for these, I'm gonna be displaying the second one. I'm gonna display it in the center of the screen, in the center of the element. So it's gonna be centered vertically as well as horizontally. Whereas the last one, I'm gonna center this vertically, but I'm gonna display it on the right side. So to do this, I'm gonna copy this code and I'm gonna paste it 2 times. So the second time, the first time 1 nth child 1. The second time nth child 2, because we want the second time we want to access the details of the second child. So the details, this is the first child, this is the first one, this is the second one, and this is the third one. So if I say the second nth child, I'm accessing this details. So for this details, what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna say here align items center, and the text align is also gonna be center. For the one nth child 3, this is gonna be 3. I'm gonna say align items flex end, and the text align is gonna be end or left or left. You can say or right. You can say right. Let me show you now what's gonna happen if I refresh. As you can see, if I refresh, this is gonna be centered vertically and horizontally, and this is gonna be centered vertically, but it's gonna be displayed on the left side, and this is gonna be centered vertically, but horizontally it's gonna be displayed on the right side. And whenever you hover over these, whenever you hover over the buttons, the button will turn to an orange color. Also, I'm gonna add a hover effect to the card itself, to the object itself. So to do this, remember we have the details, we have this details. We can say here, we can say new, and then .1, and then details, and then I'm gonna say hover. So upon hovering, what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna change the background color. I'm gonna say background, and then I'm gonna change the background color to, let's say, let's select a color. Let me here say corn silk. Let's try this one. So if I refresh, as you can see, if you hover, this is gonna look like, this is how it's gonna look like, and I think it looks amazing. I think the color is great. This color is just great. Or you can even select another color, because this is very bright. We need a color that works well with this with the text color. So you can, for example, use the dark gold Denrod. I think this one would look amazing. I think this one is better. So you can use this or the other one. So I'm gonna go back to the old one, to the one that I chose first, which is the corn silk. I think the corn silk looks amazing. Now let me refresh, and I think the corn silk looks amazing. Now what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna work on a section called featured, which is gonna display featured products. So first of all, here I'm gonna create a new section. I'm gonna say here, I'm gonna add a comment first, and then I'm gonna say featured, and then featured, and then I'm gonna create a section here. I'm gonna say section, and I'm gonna give this section an ID, and the ID is gonna be featured. And then inside that featured, we need a div. We need here to create a div, and for this div, I'm gonna give it first a class called container, which is as usual. This class is going to add container is going to add a padding and margin from the right and left. And I'm gonna also say here text center, because I want to center the text center. But let me work on this later, because I want to show you how these classes are gonna affect the design. And inside that div, first of all, I want to display here I'm gonna say h3, and then I'm gonna say our featured products, or just our featured. And then I'm going to display HR, which is a separator. It's just a separator. And below this, I'm going to display a paragraph. Here below this HR, I'm going to say P. And I'm going to add here some text. I'm going to say, here you can check out our new products, or featured products. Featured products. Let me save and let me refresh. So if I refresh, as you can see here, it's being displayed here. But first of all, I want to display this in the middle. Therefore, I'm going to say here, for this container, I'm going to say text center. Text center. And I also want to add margins from the top and from the top and bottom, and from right and left. And that can be done using the margin top 5, which is a bootstrap class, and the padding y, which is going to add a padding from the top and bottom. And also I'm going to add padding and margin to the section itself. So for the section itself, I'm going to say class, and then I'm going to say my5 and pb5. So this is a margin 5 to the top and bottom, and this is for the bottom. This is padding to the bottom. pb5, pb-5. Now let me show you the difference. As you can see, it's going to be displayed in the middle, which looks amazing. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to work on the featured products. So to do that, I'm going to create the products. And to create the products, we need a div. And we need to give this div a class called raw in order to create a raw that will contain several products. So I'm going to say raw here, and inside that raw, first I'm going to create the first product by creating a div, and I'm going to give this div a class called product, which is going to be my class that I'm going to work on shortly. And I am going to say column LG3, which means that each product will take 3 columns out of 12 if the screen is large. If the screen is medium, I'm going to say column MD, and then 4, which means that each product would take 4 columns out of 12 if the screen is medium screen sizes. For medium screen sizes. For small screens, I would say here call SM12, which means that for small screens, each product would take 12 columns, 12 out of 12, which means that if the screen is small, only one product would be displayed. So inside the product, we need an image for the product. So I'm going to say image, and I'm going to give it also a class. The class is the image fluid, which is a bootstrap class again, and the margin, I'm going to give it also margin bottom 3. And I'm going to say here source, and I'm going to keep this empty for now. Shortly, I'm going to add an image. Below the image, we want a text. So I'm going to create a div for that text, and I'm going to say here, let me use, instead of the text, instead of div, I'm going to say here h5, and for the h5, I'm going to give it a class, and that class is going to be p name, and here I'm going to display the name of the product. So let me here say sports shoes. And below this, I'm gonna use the h4 to display the price. So I'm gonna say here h4, and I'm gonna give it a class, and that class would be named P price. And then I'm gonna say here, I'm gonna type a price. Let me say here this price, and below I'm gonna display a button. I'm gonna say here button. So for this button, I'm gonna say buy now, and I'm gonna also give it a class buy now. Let me save and let me head over to the browser, and let me here name it, instead of buy now, let me say buy button, because otherwise I wouldn't know that this is a button. Buy button. Let me now save and refresh, and as you can see, the product will be displayed here, but we still need to work on the design. So first of all, we need to add margin and padding. So to add a margin and padding, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add margin and padding to the to this div, to this raw itself. The raw itself, I'm going to say mx auto. So this is going to center each product. So it's going to add here some space here from the left and right, so that it will be centered. However, it will be centered, but also there will be here space. And this is going to be applied to the raw itself. It's not going to be applied to each product. So it will look amazing shortly. Shortly, when I refresh, you will see what this is going to do to the raw. And I'm going to also give it container. I'm going to say here container fluid, which is going to also add some space. Container fluid. This is a bootstrap class, which is going to add some space from the right and left, and make sure that the things will be displayed perfectly. And for the text, I want to center the text, and to center them, we need here to say text center. This is going to center the text. So this is for this part. And for here, we want, let me check this one here. We need text center. We need to center this, and we need to add margin. We added margin. Everything is perfect. Let me save and let me refresh now. And as you can see, it's going to look amazing. It's going to be displayed here. Now what we need to do is that we need to display the image. So I have some images, and let me show you the images that I have. So I have this folder which contains some images. I'm gonna add these images to my project. So here I'm gonna open this, and then I'm gonna open the images. And for the images, for this section, we have the featured. So I have here 4 featured images. I'm gonna move each one here to this images folder. 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4. So we will have 4 images. Now what I'm going to do is that, let me close all of these. Let me close down all of these tabs. Here we need to say source, and then for the source I'm going to say assets / images / featured 1 JPEG. Let me now save, and let's head on over to the browser to test. So as you can see, it's going to look amazing. Now we have only 1 product, but we want to create here 3 other products. So to do this, we don't need to do anything special. All we need to do is that we need to copy this part and paste it 4 times, paste it 3 times because we already have 1. However, I'm gonna here, before I do this, I'm gonna display here some stars. So stars for reviews. So to do this, I'm gonna say here, I'm gonna create here a div called that has a class called star. I'm gonna say class star, and then I'm gonna use a font awesome star. So I'm gonna say here I, and then for this I, I'm gonna give it a class, and that class is a not a bootstrap, it's a font awesome class called FAS font awesome, and then FA font awesome star, font awesome star. And then I'm going to repeat this 5 times because I want to display 5 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let me show you how this would look like. As you can see, we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars, which looks amazing. So this is for this section. Finally, I'm going to repeat these 4 times, and then I'm going to work on the design. So in order to repeat these, we just need to copy this part. We need to start copying from here. So from here, I'm going to copy from here, and then I'm going to paste this. 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to change the images. So the first image is featured 1. The second image is featured 2. And the third image is featured 3. And the last image is featured 4. Let me now save and let me refresh. And as you can see, we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, and they look amazing. Now I'm going to work on the design. So I'm going to head on over to CSS. Let me open up CSS. And in CSS now, we need to start working on the design. So remember, we have a class called container. We have a class called product. Remember, we have here a class called product. This product. This product. So we need to work on this. This product is the div that contains the complete product. So here at the bottom, I'm going to here add a comment, and then I'm going to say product. So for the product section, I'm going to say here dot product, and then first I'm going to give this product a cursor. I'm going to say cursor pointer, which is going to make this which is going to make the item clickable. Cursor pointer will make this icon clickable. Whenever you hover over it, it's going to be clickable. So this is for the product, and I'm going to also give it margin bottom. So I'm going to add here some margin because I want this margin for the in order not to interfere with the next section. So I'm going to say margin bottom to rim. And then I'm going to work on the image. I'm going to say product image. And the image, I'm going to give this image a transition of 0.3 seconds all. And upon hovering on the image, I'm going to say here product, and then hover. If I hover over the product, I'm going to change the opacity of the image. So I'm going to say image, I'm going to say product hover, which means that if I hover over the product here, the image will have a different opacity. I'm going to say here opacity, and the opacity is going to be 0.7. Let me save and let me now head on over to the browser and refresh. And if I hover, as you can see, the opacity will be 0.7, which looks amazing. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to work on the next section, which is going to display which is going to display other products other than the featured. So here, what I'm going to do is that below the banner, I'm going to create another section here, and let's say here clothes, and then here I'm going to create a section. And instead of working on this from scratch, we can copy the code from the featured because the code is going to be very similar. Therefore, I'm going to copy this code from the featured, and then I'm going to paste it in the clothes here. And I'm going to change only a few things. First, I'm going to remove here the padding bottom. I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to change the text here. I'm going to say dresses and coats. And here I'm gonna say, here you can check our clothes. And the images are gonna be different. So I have these images again. I have here 4 images for the clothes section. So I'm gonna open this folder, and then I'm gonna copy, and then I'm gonna drag and drop these images onto the images folder. Here I have this, and then I have this, and this, and this. So I have here 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me now close these down, and then let's change the images. So here in the HTML, we need to change here, instead of featured, I'm gonna say clothes 1, and here clothes 2, and then clothes 3, and then clothes 4. Let me save and let me check this out in the browser. So as you can see, this is the dresses and coats section. Looks very, very awesome, and it has the same exact design as the featured. The only difference is only a padding here. I removed the padding, but this is not very important. I just changed this to make this different from the featured. It's a little different, but it looks now amazing. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to change the color of the navigation bar. If you look at this navigation bar closely, you'll find that the navigation bar is not actually white. It's gray. It's a very light gray color, and I want the navigation bar to be white. To do this, we can quickly use a bootstrap class here. Instead of, remember here, instead of bg light, you can see bg white, and this is gonna whiten the navigation bar quickly. As you can see, the navigation bar is now white. Now it's white. And what I'm gonna do next is that I'm gonna add here a shadow to the navigation bar, so that we can recognize the navigation bar from the page itself when scrolling. And also it's gonna look, it's gonna give a better look, and it's gonna give the website a great look when we add this. So let me add this shadow. So to add this shadow, we can here say, first let me show you the navigation bar. This is the navigation bar. So the navigation bar has a class called NAVBAR. So we can use this NAVBAR here in CSS. We can say .navbar. NAVBAR. We actually have already, remember, if you scroll up, you'll find that we already have this navigation bar right here. We have this NAVBAR. So we can add the code here. So for this navigation bar, we can add box shadow. This is going to add a shadow to the navigation bar. So the shadow is going to be from top, it's going to be 0, and from bottom I'm going to say 5px and 10px. 5 and 10 px. So this is for x, for the x-axis, it's going to be 0, so right and left. For y-axis, which is the top, which is the bottom, it's going to be 5, and for the z-axis, it's going to be 10. And the color for the shadow is going to be this color, RGBA. So the color that I'm going to be using is a gray color, 0, 0, 0, and 0.1. So this is a very dark gray. It's close to black actually. Let me save and show you what's gonna look like. So as you can see now, there is here a shadow. As you can see, there is a shadow. There is a shadow. You can see the difference now. You can distinguish between the borders of the navigation bar and the page itself. So it's clear that the navigation bar, the borders of the navigation bar are the borders are these, and the page is behind, kind of behind the navigation bar. So this now looks outstanding. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a new page, which is the shop page. So the shop page is going to contain all products that we have. So the shop page is going to have a navigation bar, the same navigation bar of course, and also it's going to have the footer. But the content is going to be different. So the content is going to be all the products that we have in our e-commerce shop. So first of all, here I'm going to create a new file. Make sure that you are in this area. And then I'm going to create a new file called shop.html. And since the code is going to be similar, I'm going to copy some code that we already created in the index, from the index. So I'm going to head over to the index, and from the index, first I'm going to copy this part, the body, from the beginning all the way to the opening tag of the body. And then I'm going to paste it in the shop. And here in the shop, I'm going to change the title. I'm going to say here, shop. Here I'm going to say shop. And here I'm going to say in the index, I'm going to say instead of document, I'm going to say home. The next thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to copy the lower part, which is the script and the closing tag of the body and the closing tag of the HTML. So I'm going to copy these three, and then I'm going to paste them in the shop. So in the shop here, I'm going to give myself some space, and then I'm going to paste these three. So now this is the shop page. Let me save and let me open the shop page. So in the browser, I'm going to go instead of index, I'm going to say here shop.html. And as you can see, the content is empty. So we need to add here the navigation bar. So I'm going to head on over back to the index, and then in the index, I'm going to copy the navigation bar. I'm going to close this navigation bar, and then I'm going to copy the navigation bar, and then I'm going to paste it in the shop. So I'm going to paste it here. And then I'm going to save, and I'm going to test this. Let me refresh. And as you can see now, we have a navigation bar in the shop.html. We have this navigation bar. Let's also add the footer. So I'm going to again head on over back to the index. And from the index, I'm going to go to the footer. Remember, this is the footer. So I'm going to close the footer. And then I'm going to copy the footer code. And then I'm going to paste it here below the navigation bar. I'm going to paste it here. And then I'm going to save. Let me close this. Let me close it. And let me also close the navigation bar one more time. So we have here the nav bar, and we have the footer. Let me now click on File and then Save All. And let me here refresh. So the shop now will have the following. It will have the navigation bar and it will have the footer. However, we want to add content. So the content is going to be products. So remember, if you go back to the home page, you'll find that we have here products. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to display all of the products that we have. So instead of displaying 4 products, I'm going to display so many products, almost all of the products that we have. Therefore, I'm going to copy the code from the index. Remember, if you go to the index one more time, you'll find that we have the featured section, which is this. I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to paste it between the navigation bar and the footer. I'm going to paste it here. And now if I save and head on over to the browser and refresh, and let me go now to the shop. I'm going to go to the shop.html. So now in the shop.html, you'll find that we have navigation bar, and we have 4 products, and we have the footer. And we don't want to display only four products. Instead, we want to display all of the products. So how can we do this? How would we do this? To do this, we can copy. Remember, we can copy these products in the shop here. we have this row, and inside this row we have these products. So you can copy these products from here all the way to this, and then you can paste that once, twice, and 3 times. Now if you save and refresh, you'll find that we will have now so many products. As you can see, we will have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we have 16 products, and we can add as many products as we want. But we need to work first on the design. So as you can see here, we have a problem with the design. The design, the area here, the starting area of the products is behind the navigation bar. So we need to push this in order to be displayed below the navigation bar, not behind the navigation bar. And to do this, we can here increase the margin. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add pagination to this page. So here I'm going to add pagination where there will be here a bar that displays the number of pages we have, where each page will contain a few products, will contain like 16 or more products. So let me show you how you can do that. First of all, in the shop.html, at the bottom, at the end, above the div, above this div, and below the last product, which is this product, the last product, below the last product here, I'm gonna use Bootstrap to create that pagination. So I'm gonna say here nav, and then I'm gonna give this nav first area label. I'm gonna say area label page navigation example. And then inside that nav bar, inside that nav, we want to use UL, unordered list, and convert this unordered list into a pagination bar. So in order to do that, we need to use a Bootstrap class called pagination. I'm going to say class and then pagination. And then I'm going to give this pagination margin top 5. And inside it, I'm going to display the number of links that we want. So I'm going to say li, and for the first li, I'm going to give it a class. I'm going to say class, and that class is going to be page item. And inside it, we want links. So I'm going to create here a link. And for this link, we want to give it again a class. I'm going to say class, and that class would be page link. Page link. And then I'm going to say here href, and for the first link I'm going to say previous. For the first link here I'm going to say previous. Here previous. And then I'm going to copy this link and paste it 5 times. I'm going to paste it here and here and here and here. And then the second one is going to be 1. The second one is going to be here 1. And then the third one is going to be 2. And then 3. And the last one is going to say next. Next. Let me now save and let's head on over to the browser to test. So in the browser, if I refresh, as you can see, we will have this pagination bar that's being displayed here at the bottom of the page, which looks amazing. And notice that it's important to add it above the section and above the div, inside the just below the last product. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to work on the single product page. So if you click on one of these products, nothing is going to happen. And of course we don't want that. We want to display if user clicks on a product, we want to display the product in a single page and display information about that product and how to add that product to the cart and so many different things about that specific product that the user is interested in. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to open my project and then I'm going to create a new file. Here I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to click on this icon and then I'm going to create a new file called single product _product.html. And since the single product.html will have the footer and header, it will have the navbar and the footer. We need to copy the footer and the navbar from the index or from the shop. Let's copy them from the index. So I'm going to open up the index, and in the index here, I'm going to start copying from the beginning here all the way to the body, first to the body, and then I'm going to paste it in the single product.html. Then we need to copy the lower part, which is these 3 lines. I'm going to copy these 3 lines. And then I'm going to paste them here. I'm going to paste them here. Okay, you need to give yourself some space here and then paste that code here. Now we need to display the navigation bar. So I'm going to again head on over back to the index and then I'm going to scroll up. So I'm going to scroll up and then I'm going to close this navigation bar and then I'm going to copy this navigation bar. I'm going to copy it and then I'm going to paste it in the single product.html. I'm going to paste it here. And then I'm going to close it one more time because we don't want to confuse ourselves. And then I'm going to copy the footer as well. So from the index, if you scroll down, you should find that we have the footer. So I'm going to copy the footer as well. And then I'm going to paste the footer below the navigation bar, but you need to leave here space because we need to add code here. So I'm going to here give myself some space and then I'm going to paste the footer. And then I'm going to close the footer as well. I'm going to close here this footer. So now we have the navigation bar and we have the footer. Let me click on File and then Save All. And let's test that in the browser. So now in the browser I'm going to go to the single _ product.html. And then I'm going to hit enter and as you can see we have the navigation bar as well as the footer. Now we need to work on the content. So the content will contain a single image with all its information. So the design is going to be like this. On the left side, I'm going to display the product image, and on the right side, I'm going to display information about the product, as well as a button to add to cart, and the quantity, and also the price. All of these things on the right side. So images will be on the left side, whereas information will be on the right side. So let's work on the design. So here in the single product.html, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a new section here. I'm going to say here section. And then I'm going to give this section a class. I'm going to say here class, and that class is going to be single product, and I'm going to also give it margin Y, margin top and bottom 5, and also margin also padding top 5. And inside that section we want to divide the page into 2 columns. Therefore I'm going to say here div, and then for this div I'm going to give it the row class because we want to divide the page into 2 columns. And I'm going to also give this this div a margin top 5. And inside this div, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create another div. I'm going to say here div, and this div will contain the image on the left side. So I'm going to first give this div a class, and that class is going to be column large 5 because we want it to take 5 out of 12 columns for large screens. For medium screens, I'm going to let this take 6 out of 12. For small screens, I'm gonna give it 12 columns. That's it. Now inside this div, we want to display the image. So I'm gonna say image, and then for this image, I'm gonna say source. And let's use one of the images that we already have. I'm gonna say assets, images. Let's use the featured one. And then I'm gonna give this image a class. I'm gonna say here class. First, I'm gonna give it the image fluid, which is gonna make the image responsive. I'm gonna also give it a width 100%, 100 width 100%, so that it takes the complete parent size. Also, I'm gonna give it padding bottom. I'm gonna say PB1, padding bottom 1. Let me here save, and let me head on over to the browser and test. So now if I refresh, as you can see, we have this image. But of course we need to work on the design further, because I want to display the image. I want to make this image smaller. But before I work on this, let's work on the small images, because I'm going to be displaying the varieties of that product. So below this image, I'm going to display small images that represent the different varieties of that product. So below this div, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create another div, but it must be inside this div. It must be here. Actually below the image, not below the div, because we want the images to be displayed below this image, not below the div itself. So below the image, I'm going to say div, and then I'm going to give this div a class, and that class is going to be, I'm going to name it small image group. And for this small image group, I'm going to also create another div inside it, and I'm going to give this image also another class called small image column. And I'm going to display inside it one image. I'm going to say here image. And I'm going to give it here a source. And let's use one of the images that we already have. I'm going to say assets, images, featured to.jpg. And I'm going to also give it a width. I'm going to say width 100%, and I'm going to give it a class called small image. Let me save, and let me head on over to the browser and test. So in the browser now, as you can see, we will have one image. Let's now display other images. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to copy this section, this div. I'm going to copy this div, and I'm going to paste it 4 times. I'm going to copy this, and inside the same div here below this, I'm going to paste it 1, 2, 3. So we should have 1, 2, 3, 4. We should have 4 divs like this. Now let me change the images. So I'm going to say here featured 1, and then featured 2, and then featured 3, and then featured 4. And then here featured, let's use another image. Let me use the clothes one. Let me now save, and let me head on over to the browser and refresh. And we should have now other images. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have all of these images. Of course, we need to display these images below the product, the product that we want to display. As varieties of that product. So they must be displayed here in small containers. So let's work on this. So in order to work on this, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create CSS classes. Therefore, I'm going to head on over to the CSS here, CSS, style.css, and then in the style, let's work on this. So I'm going to scroll to the bottom, and then let's work on this. So here I'm going to say small image group, And for the small image group, I'm gonna remember this small image group is this one. It represents this small image group. It represents the div that contains all of the small images. So for this, we need to give it a display flex. And we need also to give it justify content space between. Let me save and let me show you what this is gonna do. So if I refresh now, as you can see, these images will be small, but they don't have the same sizes, so we need to fix their sizes. Therefore, I'm gonna work on the other class, which is the small image column. Remember, here in the single product, for each image, I have given each image a class called small image col. So here, in order to make all images have the same exact width and height, we need to say flex basis 24% or 25. And let's also give it cursor. It means that the image is going to be clickable. Let me now save and refresh. And as you can see, all of the images will have the same exact width and height. You might find some images a little bigger than others, and the reason is because some images are originally bigger in terms of the size than others. This is why I have always been telling you that you need to make sure that all of your images, all of your product images have the same exact size. Otherwise, you will, even if you try to resize them using CSS, some images, because they are originally small, they will not look they will not fill the complete container. This is the only problem that we will have. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to first work on the design further, and then I'm going to display the product information on the right side. First of all, in the single product, I'm going to give this section, I'm going to give it the bootstrap class, the container. I'm going to say here container. Why? Because if I give it the container, you'll find that if I refresh, you'll find that it will fit the screen perfectly. As you can see, there will be here more space, and the slider was removed. Now let's work on this area. Let's here display information about this product, such as the product details, the quantity, the add to cart button, all of these things. And to do this, remember, below this div and inside this raw, which is this div, we need to create another div. We need here to say div, and this div is going to have class, and that class will have column large 6 for large screens. For medium screens, I'm going to give it 12 columns. For small screens, you can give it 12. Let's give it 12. By the way, you can say here col 12 without saying SM, which means that by default it's going to be take 12 columns in case the screen is doesn't fit, is not considered large, and is not considered medium either. It will take 12 columns. So here inside this div, first I'm going to display h6, and then I'm going to say here home, for example, or men, let's say men, shoes, and then I'm going to display h3, and in this h3 I'm going to display the some text, let's say the category, for example, men's fashion. And I'm going to give this a class py4, padding top and bottom 4. Next, I'm gonna work on the price. So below this H3, we need to display the price. I'm gonna say here H2, and then I'm gonna display the price. Here I'm gonna say price, any price you want. And then let me, below this price, I'm gonna display the input, and that input will display the number of products. I'm gonna say input, and inside this input we need to give it first a type. The type will be a number because this is a number, and value. The value is 1 because by default we would expect the user to buy only one item, and therefore we need to say here 1. And below this I'm going to display a button. I'm going to say here button, and then for this button I'm going to say add to cart, and I'm going to give it a class. That class is going to be by button, which the button that we already have. And we can use another class if we want, or we can edit this class. I'm going to show you another method of editing the design of this button. But first, let me show you how this looks like. Now, if I refresh, as you can see, we have here, it says main section, main shoes, and then main fashion, and then here 155, which is the price, and then here the one, which is the quantity. Here you can increase the quantity and the add to cart button. But of course we need to work on the design, and also we need to display the details. So first let's display the details below this button. Below this button I'm gonna here say H4, below the button, and I'm gonna say here product details. Let's give this H4 class margin top 5 and margin bottom 5, and below it I'm going to display the text. So I'm going to say here span, and inside that span I'm going to display the details. I'm going to say here the details, so this is just this text is just for the sake of testing, and later we can edit this text. Let me here click on file and then save all, and let me show you how this would look like. So if I refresh, as you can see, this is how it's gonna look like. However, we need to fix the design of this. Of course, the design is not that good. Let's work on the design. So I'm gonna head over to the style.css, and in the style.css, what we want to do is that we want to work on the button, and we want also to work on the input. We need to fix the input. So I'm going to start by fixing the input. So the input here has a outline here colored in blue, and I want to remove this. To remove this, I'm going to say here single product. Remember the big section class is single product. So I'm going to say here dot single product, and then I'm going to access the input. I'm going to say input, and then I'm going to say here focus, and then I'm going to remove the outline. I'm going to say outline none. Now if I refresh, and here if I click here inside, the borders or the outline was removed. Let's work on the design of that input. So I'm going to say here dot single product, and then input, the input itself. Now let's fix the width. So the width, as you can see, the width is too big. We don't want this. We want it to be much smaller. So I'm gonna change the width. I'm gonna say here width. So the width would be only, let's say 50 px only. And then I'm gonna change also the height to 40%, 40 px. And I'm gonna change also the padding and the font. So for the padding left, we want to add padding left because as you can see, the number is very close to the left side, and we want to shift that number a little. Next, I'm gonna change the font size. So the font size would be 16 px. And finally, I'm gonna add margin right. Margin right 10 px, because I want here some space. Let me refresh and show you how this is gonna look like. As you can see now, this input looks perfect now. The number is very clear and big enough for the user to see, and the box itself is very good in terms of its dimensions. This is for the input. Let's work on the button. So for the button, remember this button. The button, I'm gonna change the color of this button. So instead of displaying this button in black, I'm gonna display it in orange. So I'm gonna say here dot single product, and then dot buy button, and then I'm gonna work on this. Remember that we already have a class called buy button, but if I just access the buy button one more time without saying single product, this is gonna ruin the original design of the buy button. Therefore, we need to say single product and then buy button, or we can create a new class. So you have two options. You can create a new class called add to cart, for example, or you can use here single product and then buy button. So you can here, if you don't want to be confused, if you don't want to get confused, you can here say add to cart button. But add to cart button is going to be a very long word. Therefore, I'm just going to say buy button. So I'm going to say here buy button. But you need to know that this buy button, since I said single product, it's inside the single product page. Let's change now the background color. I'm going to say background color. So the background color is going to be the orange color that I have already used earlier. And I'm gonna change the opacity to 1. I want the opacity to be 1, and I want transition of 0.4 seconds all. Let's save and refresh, and as you can see, it's gonna be orange. Let's also change the hover. So I'm going to add a hover effect to it. I'm going to say single product dot buy button, and then hover, and I'm going to change this to, I'm going to change the background. I'm going to say background. So the background color, if I hover over it, let's use this color. So as you can see, if I hover over it, it's going to be like this. So this is how it's going to look like. I think it looks amazing, and you might think that this area is too big. It's not actually too big because we don't have here text, but when we have here a lot of text, it's not going to be that big. So here, let me show you what I mean. So here we need to add this text many times. So let me add this text 4 or 5 times. I'm gonna paste it here 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we have a lot of text here, and we should have a lot of text that describes this product. As you can see, the area is not it's not large because now we have a lot of text. So this is how it's gonna look like. Now what we want to do is that we want to display the related products below this. So in order to do this, we need to get the products, the code that we already have created. So if we go back, you will find that if you go back to the, remember, if you go back to the index, let me go to the index. So if you go to the index, which is the home page, you'll find that we already have this featured section. We can use this featured section in the single product to display the related products. So I'm gonna head on over to the index, and in the index, remember we have here the featured. I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna close it first, and then I'm gonna copy it, and I'm gonna paste it in the single product.html below this section. Below this single, I'm gonna say here single product. So below this single product, I'm gonna paste this featured, and then I'm gonna change first. Here, instead of featured, I'm gonna say related products. Related products. And I'm gonna here say ID related products. Related products. And here I'm gonna say related products. And I'm gonna remove this paragraph. I don't need this paragraph here. And let me close this section, and let's save and head on over to the browser and refresh. And as you can see, we will have this related products displayed here, which looks amazing. Below, it's gonna be below this, below the single product area here. So now what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna display the other images. If the user clicks on one of these images, we want to replace this image with one of these images, so that the user will be able to check each single image of these images. So for example, if I click on this black bag, I want it to be displayed here instead of this shoes. So how can we do this? To do this, we need to use JavaScript. So first we need to give this image an ID. So remember, this image exists here in this single product section. This image. So this image, we need to give it an ID. I'm gonna here say ID, and then I'm gonna say main image. Main image. And we need to use JavaScript. So I'm gonna scroll to the bottom, and here below this script, I'm gonna create a script. I'm gonna say here script. And I'm gonna close the script. And now we need to access the image. So to access the image, we need to say document.getElementById, and then which ID that we used? This ID. Remember the ID that I just I have just given the image was this main image. So I'm gonna say here document.getElementById, and then main image. And we need to store this in a variable. I'm gonna say here var main image is equal to document.getElementById, and then main image. Now what we need to do is that we need to replace this main image with one of these images upon clicking on one of these images. Therefore, we need to make reference to these images. So in order to make reference to these images, we need to use the document getElementByClassName. So I'm going to say here document.getElementByClassName. And then the class the class of these images, what is the class that is common among these images. Remember, the class that all of these images have is the small image column, and also the small image. So we need to use the small image. We need to use the small image class. So let's use it here. I'm going to say get element by class name, and the class name that I'm going to be using is the small image. And then I'm going to store this in a variable. I'm going to say var small image. Now we need to use JavaScript to replace this with this. In other words, we need to replace this image, one of these images, with we need to replace this by one of these images. So I'm gonna take this down and add one of these images instead of this one here in this big area upon clicking on one of these images. In order to do this, we need to add click event to the small image. So I'm gonna say small image here. I'm gonna say small image dot on click if user clicks on one of these images. I'm gonna call a function here. I'm gonna say function, and this function is gonna replace the small image with is gonna take the main image down and add the small image instead of it. So I'm gonna say here function, and then I'm gonna say main image dot source now is gonna be equal to the small image of the first image, which has an index of 0 dot source. So let me walk you through the code one more time. The first line is going to make reference to the main image, which is this image, the big image. This get element by class name small image will return an array. This is going to return an array with the small images. So we have, how many images do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 images. Therefore, this is going to return 4 images with 4 indexes. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So for the first image, the index is 0. So I'm gonna test this with the first image. This function now is gonna listen to clicks on the small image. So if you actually, I should here say the first image, which has an index of 0, because I'm testing on the first image. So if the user clicks on the first image, which is this image, the first small image, what's gonna happen is that the source of the main image will be replaced with the small image source. In other words, down, and this image will take the place of this image. Let me now save and show you how this is gonna look like, how this is gonna work. Let me save now, and let me here refresh, and let's test. So if I click on this small image, as you can see, it will take the place of the original image, which is amazing. Now the problem is with the other images. If I click on the second image, nothing is gonna happen. If I click on the third image, nothing is gonna happen. If I click on the fourth image, nothing is gonna happen. So we need to apply the same concept to all other images. And to do this, we need to copy this code and paste it here, and then here change this 0 with 1, because the second image has an index of 1. So we need here to say small image 1, and here we need to say small image 1. Now if I save and test, let me save and head on over to the browser and test. And if I click on the second image, it's going to take the place of the original image. However, if I click on the third image, nothing is going to happen. So we need to repeat the same exact code. And this is not a good practice. Therefore, we need to use a for loop. So instead of repeating the code over and over and over again, here's where loops come in handy. So here I'm going to say 4, and then let I is equal to 0, and then I is smaller than 4 because we have 4 images, and then I plus plus. And then inside this loop, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to copy this code, and then I'm going to paste it inside this for loop. And let me push this code. Now, instead of saying small image 0, we need to say small image I. And here we need to say small image I. In other words, as long as I is smaller than 4, we will replace this I with 0 in the first iteration. In the second iteration, the I is going to be 1. In the third iteration, it's going to be 2. And in the fourth and last iteration, it's going to be 3. So this is going to, if I save, this is going to replace all images and put one of these images here upon clicking on any of these images. Let me now refresh and test with all images. So if I click on the first image, it's going to take the place of the original image. If I click on the second image, it's going to take the place of the original image. If I click on the third image, it's going to take the place of the original image. And of course, if I click on the last image, it's going to take the place of the original image. So now we are done with this functionality, which is amazing, and it's going to give the user an outstanding user experience. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to work on the cart page. So in order to work on the cart page, we need to create a new page called cart. So I'm going to, here in my project, I'm going to create a new file here called cart.html. And then, since this cart will have also the navigation bar as well as the footer, we need to get the navigation bar and the footer from one of these pages. So I'm going to open up the index, and then from the top I'm going to copy the body. First I'm going to copy the body. I'm going to copy from this, starting from the first line of the page all the way to the body. And then I'm going to paste it in the cart.html. And then in the index, I'm going to go back to the index, and then I'm going to copy also the last 3 lines. The script, the closing tag of the body, and the closing tag of the HTML. And then I'm going to paste it in the, again, in the cart.html. But you need to leave here a big space. Now we need to get the navigation bar as well as the footer. So from the index, I'm going to get the navigation bar. We have this nav bar, I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to paste it here in the cart. And then I'm going to close it first. So this is the navigation bar. And then I'm going to go back to the index and get the footer. So we have this footer, I'm going to copy the footer. And then I'm going to paste it in the cart.html, again here. And then you need to close it in order to see where it is. So here, as you can see, we have the navigation bar, and then we have space, and then we have the footer. So now let me check that in the browser. So I'm going to go back to the browser, and then I'm going to go to the cart.html. And as you can see, we have the navigation bar and we have the footer. Now we need to work on the content of the navigation of the cart. So the cart will contain obviously the products that the user added to the cart, and also their information such as the price, the name of the product, the quantity, the total price, all of these things. So in order to work on the cart, this time I'm gonna be using a table. A table is the easiest and best way to use in order to create a well-designed cart. So here I'm gonna add a comment, and then I'm gonna say cart, and as usual I'm gonna start with the section. And then in this section I'm gonna give it, as usual, class, and then I'm gonna say cart. the class is going to be cart, and also I'm going to give it as usual a container and margin top and bottom 5 and padding top and bottom 5. And then inside that section I'm going to create a div first, and for this div I'm going to give it a class. I'm going to say class, and the class is going to be again container. I'm going to give it a container to add some margins from the right and left, and also I'm going to give it margin top 5. Inside the div I'm going to display a text that says your cart, and I'm going to give this h2 also a class. I'm going to say font, weight, bold, and I'm going to also add HR below this. And finally I'm going to save and test. So I'm going to save all, and then I'm going to head on over back to the browser and refresh, and as you can see we have this your cart. So this is the title of the your cart page. Let's now work on the cart itself. So below this div, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a table. I'm going to say here table, and then I'm going to give this table first, I'm going to give it class, and the class that I'm going to give this table is the margin top 5 and also padding top 5. Then inside that table I'm going to add here tr, and for this tr we want to display 3 columns. So I'm going to say here th, and the first one is going to say product, and the second th, the second column will display the quantity, and then the last column will display the subtotal. Let me save and let me head on over to the browser and show you how this is going to look like. So as you can see we have here product, quantity, and subtotal, but we need to stretch this so that the table takes the complete screen width. So we need to work on CSS, but before I do so, let's continue with this table. So below this head, or below these columns, we need to display the first product. So I'm going to say here tr, and inside that tr now I'm going to display td, and in the first td I'm going to display a div that contains information about the product. So I'm going to say here class, I'm going to give it a class, and then I'm going to say product info, and inside that product info I'm going to first display an image, the image of the product. Let's use the one of the images that we already have here. I'm going to say assets, images, and let's use the first image, featured one, and then I'm going to display below this image, I'm going to create another div that displays the product name. Here I'm going to say P, and then I'm going to say white shoes, and below this I'm going to display the price. I'm going to say here small, and inside that small I'm going to first add a span, and that span will contain the $sign, and besides the $sign I'm going to display the product price. And then below this I'm going to break. Here I'm going to say BR, and then I'm going to display a button that will allow the user to remove the product from the cart. So I'm going to say here a tag, and then I'm going to give it a class. I'm going to say class remove button, and I'm going to say remove. Here I'm going to say remove. So this is for this part. Let me save first, and then let me head on over back to the browser and refresh. And as you can see we have here the product image, and then we have here the name of the product and the price, and remove. But before we continue working on other things, let's fix this table. So to fix this table, I'm going to open up the CSS here in the assets CSS. The style, I'm going to work on the cart. So here I'm going to add a comment, and then I'm going to say cart. So first of all, we need to work on the table itself. So I'm going to say dot cart table. So for the table itself, first the cart, remember the cart is this. The cart is this class, this cart, and inside it we have the table. Therefore I said here cart and then table. So for the cart table, I'm going to first give it a width of 100% in order for it to take the complete screen width. And then I'm going to say border collapse, collapse, border collapse, collapse. And then I'm going to say cart product info, product info. And for the product info, first I'm going to change the display to be flex, display flex. And the flex is going to be, flex wrap is going to be wrap, flex, wrap, wrap. And for the columns of the table, I'm going to say dot cart, and then th. And for these columns, I'm going to change the text to align to be on the left side. And the padding, I'm going to give it a padding. The padding is going to be 5px top and bottom, and 10px left and right. For the color is going to be white, the color of the text. And the background color would be the orange color. Let me save now and let me check this in the browser. So as you can see, this is the head of the table here, product, and then quantity, and then subtotal. So this is the head. So we also need to work on the TD. Remember, in the table we have TD. The TD represents, this TD represents the image and the name of the product and the price and also the button. So we need to fix that. We need to fix the image and the product information. So I'm going to say dot cart TD, and then I'm going to give it first a padding. I'm going to say TD padding, and the padding from top and bottom would be 10px, and from right and left would be 20px. And we also have the TD. Here we have the image TD, this image. So this image doesn't have a class, so we can access this image by saying dot cart cart TD image, and we can change the image width to be only 80px because the image must be small, and the height also must be small. It must be something around 80 or 90 or maximum 100. I'm gonna also give it a margin right 10px. Let me save and let me test this in the browser. So as you can see, the image now is much smaller, and we have these we have the product information on the right side. Let's continue working on the design. So what else we want to work on is that we need to we are done with this part. But here we need to add the quantity as well as the subtotal. So in order to do this, I'm gonna head on over back to the cart. So in the cart, we need to work quantity, we need to display an input that displays the quantity. So below this remove button, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create another TD. So below this TD, but inside this TR, because we are still inside the same row, we need to create another TD. I'm going to say here TD, and for this TD, I'm going to first create an input. I'm going to say input, and this input, I'm going to say type number, and then I'm going to say value 1. The default value is going to be 1. And then I'm going to add here a tag, and this a tag class, I'm going to give it a class called edit button. Edit button. And here I'm going to say edit. And then below this edit, I'm going to display the price. So below this TD, I'm going to display the price. It's not going to be below it. It's going to be on the right side. So this TD will be displayed underneath the quantity, whereas the price is going to be displayed underneath the subtotal. So below this TD, we need to create another TD to display the price. So for this TD, I'm going to say TD and then span, and span. This span will contain the $sign, and then here I'm going to create another P paragraph that will display the. Actually, I'm going to create another span that will display the price. And then I'm going to give it here a class, and then I'm going to say price, product price. Let me save and let me here refresh, and as you can see, we will have here the quantity here, the input and the edit, and we have the price on the right side. But we still need to work on the design. So I'm going to head on over to CSS, and then in CSS I'm going to add the following design. First, what we need to do is that we need to fix the input. Welcome back. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to work on the total of products that we have, the total amount and the total amount of money that the user or the customer will pay. But before I do so, let me show you how we can add more items to the cart. So here in the cart.html, you can copy this item. As you can see, the item starts from this tr. From this tr all the way to the end of this tr, you can close this tr, this one, and actually let me open it because I need to show you the complete code. So this is the code. If you copy this, and then if you paste it below here, 1 and then 2 times, and then if you head on over to the browser and refresh, you'll find that now we have three products in the cart. Now let's work on the total amount. So to work on the total amount, I'm going to create another table below this table. So below this table, I'm going to here create a new table for the total. I'm going to say here table, and this table is going to contain is going to be surrounded first with a div. So I'm going to create first a div. I'm going to say here div, and then inside that div, let me remove this table, and let me inside the div create that table. So here inside this div, I'm going to create the table. Here I'm going to say table, and I'm going to first give this div a class. I'm going to say here class, and then I'm going to say cart total. This is going to be the total. And then inside that table, I'm going to display two things. I'm going to first display tr, and for this tr, I'm going to first display the subtotal. I'm going to say here td, and then subtotal, and then below this subtotal we need to display the amount of money, so I'm going to say TD, and then the total. So here $, and then let me get this $, and then here let's type any number you want. So here let me say 155, and then we need to display another TR, so I'm going to say here TR, and inside that TR I'm going to display TD with the total here, the total amount. And then here the complete total. Let me save, and let me head on over to the browser. And as you can see, we have here the total, and the subtotal and the total. But we need to work on CSS. So I'm going to head on over to CSS. And then in CSS, we need to work on the class that we just created, which was the cart total. Cart total. And then I'm going to give this cart total a display of flex and justify content flex end. So why am I doing this? The reason is because I want to display it on the right side. Let me refresh and show you how it's going to look like. So it's not on the right side yet. So the problem is that, let me make sure that I have given it the correct class total, and here cart total. So what I need to do in order to display it on the right side is that I need to fix the table itself. So I'm going to say here cart total and then table. And for this table, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to change the width and the maximum width. So the width is going to be 100%. There is no problem with this. However, the maximum width now, let me here remove this. So the maximum width is going to be max width. The maximum width is going to be let's say 500 px, and also let's give it a border top. I'm going to say border top 3px solid orange. Let me now show you what this is going to do to the table. So the table now, as you can see, will be displayed like this. It's not going to be take the complete screen width. However, we need to shift this table to the right side. And to shift this table to the right side, we need to say TD and then last child, and then text align right. Text align right. This is going to display it on the right side. Also the TH last child, text align right. Let me save and let me refresh. And as you can see now, the price will be displayed on the right side. However, we still need to take this table and display it on the right side. To do this, we need to fix this. Instead of saying justify self, we need to say here justify content flex end. The justify content flex end will take the table to the right side. Let me show you that now. So as you can see now, the table has been taken and is now being displayed on the right side. This is what I wanted to display, and as you can see, it's going to display the subtotal and the total. And you can only display the total if you wish to display only the total. So this is how it works. Finally, I'm going to display a, let me check first the responsiveness. So the responsiveness is, I think it's great. The only thing that remains is displaying the button, the checkout button. So to display the checkout button, we can display it below the table. So we can here say button. It's displayed in div first, div, and then button checkout. I'm gonna first give it class, and then I'm gonna say btn, and let's say checkout btn, and I'm gonna say here checkout. So the button is being displayed on the right side, so we need to shift it. So here, I'm going to say checkout button, and then display flex, and justify content, flex end. Also, I'm going to change the background color. I'm going to say background. So the background color is going to be the orange color, and the color is going to be the white color. However, we need to add the display flex and the content to the div itself, not to the button, because the button is inside a div. So here I'm gonna say we have two options. We can create another class, or we can copy this complete content and paste it below the table. But let's keep it, let's create a new class. I think creating a new class is better. I'm going to create a new class, and then I'm going to say check out container. And then here I'm going to say check out container. So for the checkout container, I'm going to say display flex, and justify content, flex end. And as you can see, the button will be displayed on the right side. So now it looks amazing, and now we have this checkout. So we have this checkout button, which looks amazing. Welcome back. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to work on the login page. So I'm going to create a new here page called login.html. And then in this login.html, first I'm going to copy the header and the body from the index. From the index here, I'm going to first copy this part, and then I'm going to paste it in the login, and then I'm going to again copy the footer part, which is this part, these 3 lines, and then I'm going to paste them in the login, and then in between we need to display the navigation as well as the footer. So I'm going to get the navigation from the index. Here I'm going to get this navigation, and then I'm going to paste it in the login, and then I'm going to close it because we don't want to work on it. And I'm going to get also the footer, so I'm going to copy the footer and paste it in the index as well, and then I'm going to close it because I'm not going to work on it. Now we need to work on the login form. So in order to work on the login form, I'm going to create a login section. I'm going to say here login, and then here I'm going to create a section. I'm going to say here section, and for the section, first of all, I'm going to give it a class. I'm going to say here class, and I'm going to give it the margin Y, margin top and bottom 5, and padding Y, padding top and bottom 5. Then inside that, I'm going to create a div, and for this div, I'm going to also give it a class, and that class is going to be the container, and I'm going to also give it a text center because I want the text to be centered, and I also need margin top and margin and padding top. I'm going to say margin top 3 and padding top 5. Now inside this div, I'm going to display here, I'm going to use h2 to display a text, and I'm going to give this h2 class, and that class is going to be the form weight bold, and I'm going to say here login. Below this login, I'm going to display HR, and I'm going to give it a class again, and that class is going to be mx auto, margin right and left auto. And then I'm going to create below this, I'm going to create a div, but before I do so, let's test first. I'm going to save all, and let me head on over to the browser and let me go to the login. So if you go to the login, you'll find that we have here login. Let's now work on the form itself. So below this div, I'm going to create another div. So for this div, I'm going to say here class, and then I'm going to say mx auto because I want again to center this form, and I'm going to add a container class to it because I want to add margins left and right to it. Now inside this, I'm going to create the form itself. I'm going to say here form, and then I'm going to give this form an ID. The ID would be login form, and inside that form we need a div, and this div is going to be for the first input. I'm going to say class form group, and then inside this I'm going to use the label to display the first info about the first label, about the first input. So the first input is going to be email, therefore I'm going to say here email, and the input itself that's going to allow the user to type their email is going to be the input. I'm going to be using the input itself, and I'm going to give it a type, and the type is text or email. Let's say text, and I'm going to give it also a class, a bootstrap class called form control, and I'm going to give it ID. The ID is important, is very important. I'm going to give it an ID called login email, and also the name. The name is going to be email, and also let's say placeholder. I'm going to say placeholder email, and finally I'm going to say required. So this is for the email. Let me save and let me head on over to the browser and test. So the email here, as you can see, this is the input for the email. Let's create another one. So to create another one, I'm just going to copy this div, and then I'm going to paste it below, and we just need to change a few things. So for instead of saying email, we need password, so the user would be able to log in using the email and the password. The type is going to be password, the class form control, the ID is login password, and we need also a name, so the name is password, and the placeholder is password. Lastly, we need to display, let me first save and show you this. So here, as you can see, we have email and password. Lastly, we need to add a button. So to add a button, I'm going to copy again this div, and then I'm going to paste it below, but the button is going to be different. The button doesn't need to have a label, I'm going to remove the label, and the button type is going to be submit. It should be submit, and the class for the input is just going to be btn. We don't need the form control. We need to say btn, and the ID is going to be login btn. The class, we already said that the class is btn. Finally, we need the value. We don't need any of this, so I'm going to remove all of these. Instead, we just need here, we just need value. So the value is login. Let me save and let me head on over to the browser and test. So we should have here a button. Here it says login, but we need to work on the design. But before I work on the design, let's continue and finish this form. So the last thing that we need on the form is the registration URL. We need a link that takes the user to the registration page. Therefore, I'm going to create another div below this one, and this one is going to be a tag. So I'm going to remove this input completely, and then I'm going to say a tag. And for this a tag, I'm going to give it an ID. I'm going to say ID register URL. And the class, I'm going to give it also a class. I'm going to say class btn. Lastly, I'm going to display here don't have account and then here register. Let me now save and let me head on over to the browser and refresh. And as you can see, we have now this button. It says don't have an account, register. Let's now start working on the design. So I'm going to open up the CSS. In the assets, we have the CSS. In the style, that CSS, let's start working on the login. So I'm going to add here a comment first. I'm going to say here login, and first we need to work on. Remember, we have in the login we have the login. I believe we have the login form. So I'm going to start with the login form. I'm going to say here hashtag login form. So for the login form itself, the first thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to change the width. I'm going to say width 50% because I want the form to take only this area. I want it to be centered, and I want the login form to be small, and I don't want it to take the complete screen width. Therefore, I'm going to say here width 50%. Next, I'm going to say margin 5px auto. This is going to center the form. Next, I'm going to say text align center. But I think we already have given the entire. We didn't. So this text center was for the login, so it's not. So this we need to add this text align center. Next, we need to say padding. We need to add padding. Padding is going to give it a good spaces from the from all sides. I'm going to say 20px. Lastly, I'm going to say border top. I'm going to add border top to it of 1px solid orange. So the orange color that I have been using was this one. Let me now save and let's see how this looks like. So as you can see now, it's much smaller and it's being displayed in the middle. Now let's work on the rest of the form. So in the form itself, we have the inputs. So for the inputs, I'm going to say here, I'm going to say login form, and then I'm going to access the inputs. For the inputs, I want also the size to be 50%. I'm going to say 50% because as you can see, the inputs are extraordinary big. They are extraordinary big, and we don't want that. I just want them to be extremely small. There is no need to display an email or password field with this huge width. It must be small. So this is for the input, and also we need to add some margins. So I'm going to add here margin 5px top and bottom and auto left and right. The next thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to work on the login button design. I'm going to say login form and then login button, login btn. So for the login button, I want the login to have the orange color. I'm going to say background color. So the background color is going to be the orange color, and the color itself is going to be white. The color of the text is going to be white. I'm going to say color and then this color. Similarly for the register, we want the reverse. For the register, I'm going to say here login form, and then I want the register URL. For the register URL, I just want the text to be orange. So I'm going to say color orange, color this color, which is the orange color. Let's now save and let me show you how this would look like. So as you can see now, it looks outstanding. Now the form is not extraordinary big. It's much smaller and it looks amazing. The user doesn't have to fill a huge input. It's just enough for the email and for the password. Also the button fits perfectly with the width of the inputs. Also we have the don't have account button, which looks amazing. It shouldn't be displayed as a button. It should be a link like this, where the color is different but the background is nothing. The background is just white, like the background color of the website itself. And we also have here login, which is being displayed at the top, which is also important to let the user know that this is the login page. So now we have the login page complete. So now what we need to do is that we need to work on the registration form. And the good news is that we don't need to repeat a lot of things, because we already have the login form, and we can use the login form and edit that login form to create a registration form. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create here a new file called register.html, and I'm going to copy the entire code from the login. So from the login, I'm going to copy this code, the entire page, and then I'm going to paste it in the register. However, we need to edit many things. First, let me save everything, and let me head on over to the browser, and here I'm going to say register.html. If I say register.html, it's going to display the login form. So we need to change this login form to be the registration form. So here, instead of saying login, I'm going to say register. And then I'm going to give it here, first I'm going to change the login to register. I'm going to say register. And for the registration form, we need first to change the ID. So the form is going to be register form or registration form. Let's say register form, just for the sake of keeping the word small and short. So here for the registration form, we need an email, we need a password, we need confirmation for the password, and we also need the user name. Therefore, I'm going to copy the email, and then I'm going to paste it above. But instead of saying email, I'm going to say name. So this is going to be the name. And I'm going to say the input type text, the class is form control, the ID is going to be register name, and the name is going to be name. The placeholder is name. The second input is email, and then here type text, class form control, and then ID is register email. The name is email, and the placeholder is email. The third input is the password. The only thing that we need to change is here the ID. So the ID is going to be register register password. We also need to copy the password, and then we need to paste it below it, and we need to say, instead of password, I'm going to say confirm or password confirmation. I'm going to say confirm password. Confirm password. So the type is password, the class is form control, the ID is register confirm password. Confirm password. The name is confirm password or password confirmation. Let's say confirm password. I'm going to say confirm password, and the placeholder is confirm password. Now the tricky part is the button. The button is going to say register, and the ID is register button, register BTN. On the other hand, the link is going to say login URL, and here I'm going to say here, do you have an account? Do you have an account? And then login. So if the user has an account, then they can log in. Let me save and let me show you how this would look like in the browser. So as you can see, this is how it's going to look like. However, we need to fix the design and make it look like the login form. As you can see, the login form looks like this, which looks amazing. We need to replicate this and apply the same design to the register or the registration form. So I'm going to head on over to CSS. We have the style.css, and then I'm going to add here a comment. I'm going to say register, and then let's start with the registration form. I'm going to say register form. So the design is going to be similar to the login. Therefore, there is no need to type the code again. We can copy the code from here. We can copy this code and paste it here. And let me save. And let me show you how this would look like. So now, as you can see, it looks like this. Now we need to work on the other elements. So the other elements are the buttons and the inputs. So for the inputs, we need to say register form input, and the code would be the same as the input that we had in the login. So I'm going to copy this code, and then I'm going to paste it here. Next, we need to work on the login button and the we need to work on the registration button and also the login URL. So here we need to say register form, and then we have here this register BTN. So I'm going to say here register BTN, and the code is going to be similar to this. We can copy this code. And lastly, we have the login. We have the login URL, which has an ID called login URL. So for the login URL, I'm just going to say register form login URL. And the code again is just this line of code. It's just the color. The color is orange. And we will be good to go. So let me save and let's see how this would look like. So as you can see, it looks extraordinarily amazing. And we have the design that looks just similar, if not exact, to the login. So the login, this is the login, and this is the registration. They are the same. and they just look amazing, and the elements um, aligned perfectly, especially the registration button. It's aligned perfectly with the inputs. So below the name and the email, I'm going to display two links here. I'm going to say P, and then I'm going to display a tag. And in this a tag, first I'm going to give it href, and I'm going to keep it empty for now, and I'm going to give it an ID. So the ID is going to be order button. So this order button. This order button is going to take the user to the order section, and I'm going to say here your orders. And below I'm going to display another p tag with a tag. So the second one would so the second one would log the user out. I'm going to say log out. And let's also here give it href, an empty href, and the ID is just going to be log out button. Now let me save and let me show you how this would look like. So as you can see, we have the name, the email, the two buttons. Now we need to work on the right side area where I'm going to display a form that's going to allow the user to edit their email, their password. So below this div, but inside the row, we need to be inside this row, we need to create a div here, and we need to say class, and then we need to specify the number of columns that we want. So I'm gonna say column lar6 and column md12 and column sm12, and this is for this div. Inside this div we need to display the form itself. So I'm gonna say form, and for the form I'm gonna give it an ID. The ID would be account form, and inside the form I'm going to say h3, and then I'm going to say change password. Below it I'm going to just display the hr, and I'm going to say class mx auto. Below this I'm going to display the inputs that we want. So we need two inputs, so I'm going to say div, and then I'm going to give it a class. So the class is going to be just form group, and inside it we need a label and input. So for the label, I'm just going to say password. Below this label, we need an input. So I'm going to say input, and I'm going to say type password, and class form control, and we need an ID, and also we need a name. So the ID is just going to be form. The ID is just going to be account password, and I'm going to also say place folder password, and we need a name. I'm going to say name password, and finally required. Let me save and show you how this would look like. So as you can see, we have this form, but we need to fix the margins. So at the top we actually have a problem because the form, when I work on the account form, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to fix this problem. But for now, let's continue. So I'm going to just copy this div and then paste it below, because we need to confirm the new password. So I'm going to say here, password. So here I'm going to say confirm password. And then I'm going to say here, type password, and then form control, account password, confirm, and here password, confirm password, confirm password. So this is for the second input. Next, we need to display the button that's gonna change the password. So I'm gonna again say dev form class form group, and inside it we need input, and again we need the type is gonna be submit, type submit, and value change password, and we need ID and class btn ID change pass btn, and that's it. Let me save and let me show you this in the browser. So here we have two more inputs and we have a button. Let's work on the design. So for the design, I'm gonna head on over to CSS. So in the CSS, first here, CSS, and then in the CSS, we need to start with the account that we created. So we have, in the CSS, we have the account form. So here I'm going to say account So for the account, we first need to say account form. So for the account form, I'm going to change the width. So the width is going to be 50%, and the margin is going to be 35px auto, and text align center, and padding 20px. Let me save and let me check this in the browser. So as you can see, it looks now better. Let's also work on the inputs. So I'm going to say account form input. So for the inputs, we need just to change the margins. So the margin is just going to be 5px auto. And for the buttons, we have account form. We have the change password button. Change pass button. So for the change pass button, we just need to change the color and the background color. The color is just going to be white, and the background color would be orange. We need to keep the same brand colors. We shouldn't be using other colors because we need to focus on having a consistent website colors. So the next thing that I'm going to work on is the account form. We need to work on the orders button. I'm going to say orders button, and also the log out button. Log out button. So for these two buttons, we just need to change the color itself. So the color is going to be the orange color, and the text decoration none. Let me save and let me show you how outstanding this is. So now we have the logout and we have the orders. So for the orders, we have a problem. Actually, we need to make sure that we have given this button orders, not orders. Now if I refresh, it's gonna say it's gonna fix it. It didn't fix it, so we still have a problem here. Orders btn, and here orders btn account form. So it's not it's inside the account info. So we need to say here account, not account form. We need to say account info. But the account info is actually a class, so we need to say dot account info, and this should fix it. So now we have the order your orders, and we have the logout. And I think everything now is perfect. So we have now the account complete and also the change password form. Welcome back. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to work on the checkout page. So I'm going to create here a new page. I'm going to create here in this area, I'm going to create a new page called checkout.html. And then we need, as usual, we need the header and the footer and the basic code from the index. So I'm going to copy the code from here, and then I'm going to paste it in the checkout, and then I'm going to copy again the footer part, which is this, and then I'm going to paste it here, and then we need the navigation bar as well as the footer. So I'm going to copy the navigation bar first, which is this, and then I'm going to paste it in the checkout, and then I'm going to close it, and then I'm going to get again the footer. I'm going to get the footer, and then I'm going to paste it in the checkout. Now let's work on the checkout page. So the checkout page should contain a form that will let the user check out, fill out the information in order to place the order. So to do this, we need to create a form. So here I'm going to say checkout, and then we need to create a form. So instead of creating the form from scratch, we already have many forms. I'm gonna get a form from the registration page. So from the registration page, remember we have this section. I'm gonna close it, and then I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna just copy it, and then I'm gonna paste it in the checkout here below this checkout. But we need to fix many things. First, we need to change here this register to checkout. And we need also to here to change the ID from register to checkout form. And we need to change also the inputs. So the inputs that we need are the name, the city, the email, the phone number. So I'm going to start with the name. The name is going to be the same, but the ID is going to be here, is going to be checkout name, and the name is name, and here name. The second input that we need is the email. I'm going to say email, and then here checkout email. The third input that we need is the phone number, so I'm going to say phone, and the type is going to be number, or we can say till actually, and the ID is going to be checkout phone. The name is phone, and the placeholder is phone. So this is for the phone number. The fourth input that we need is the city. So for the city, I'm gonna say city, and then type is text. ID is city, checkout city. Name is city. Placeholder is city. Lastly, we need the address. So I'm going to copy the city, and then I'm going to paste it below. And then instead of city, I'm going to say address. And the type is text. The ID is checkout address. The name is address. The placeholder is also address. Lastly, we need the button. So the button is going to be type submit, class btn, ID checkout button, and the value checkout or placeholder, order or checkout. And we don't need the last link. I'm going to remove this last link. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to head on over to CSS, and in CSS I'm going to do something amazing. I'm going to create two classes. I'm going to say here checkout first, and then I'm going to create two classes. The first class I'm going to name it checkout small element. And before I create the classes, let me add these classes to the checkout form. I'm going to give the name here, this name. I'm going to give it I'm going to give the div itself, not the name, not the input, but the div that contains the input. I'm going to give it a class called checkout small element. And I'm going to repeat the same thing for the email, checkout small element. Similarly for the font. For the city, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to say here checkout small element. Lastly, the address, I'm going to give it another class called checkout large element. Large element. For the button, I'm going to give the button, I'm going to give the div that contains the button, a class called checkout btn container. btn container. And these are IDs, therefore let's work on them. And remember, the big ID that contains all of these is called checkout form. So we need to start with the ID, with this checkout form. So I'm going to say here checkout form, checkout form, and then I'm going to start with the checkout small element class, small element class, this class. And be careful here, the checkout form is an ID, whereas the small element, the checkout small element is a class. So for the small element, for the checkout small element, first I'm going to change the display to be inline block, and the width is going to be only 48%. And below, I'm going to say here margin. I'm going to give this I'm going to give them margins. The margin is going to be 10px auto. Let me now save and let me show you how this would do, what this would do to the form. So as you can see, the name and the email will be displayed in the same row, whereas the phone number and the city will be displayed in the same row. Now the address will be alone here, but we still need to work on the class for the address, which is the large checkout form dot checkout small checkout large element. So for the address, and I'm going to give it a width of only 95%, a little less than 100%. Lastly, I'm going to work on the checkout button and the button container. So let's start with the container. I'm going to say checkout form, and then dot checkout button container, checkout btn container. So for the checkout button container, I'm going to first give it a margin of 10px, all dimensions, and text align right, because I want to display the button, and instead of on the left side, on the right side. And I also want to give the button a margin right 40px to push the button a little to the left side. And for the button itself, I'm going to say checkout form, and then checkout button. By the way, this is an ID. So the color, as usual, I'm going to be using the brand colors. The color is white, and the background color is orange. Let me save and let me test this in the browser. So we should have now a complete design. So as you can see now, it looks much better. So it looks amazing. The last thing that I want to do is that I want to cut this extra area from here. So here we have the checkout form. So here I have a problem. I should say here checkout form. This is gonna fix it. So if I refresh, the extra area should be removed. As you can see, it has been removed. Or you can increase this a little. So you can say 97%, and this is gonna make it equal to other inputs. So the address is gonna be equal to other almost equal to other other inputs, and the design is responsive. Welcome back. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a new page called contact, the contact us page, which would just contain contact information. So I'm going to create a new file called contact.html, and the design is going to be very similar. We just need to display the contact information. So it's not gonna contain so many things. So we can just copy the code from the index as usual. This time I'm gonna copy the complete code and then I'm gonna paste it because I don't want to go back and forth so many times. And then I'm gonna delete what needs to be deleted. So I'm gonna start from the top and then I'm gonna go all the way down to the bottom. The navigation bar, we need the navigation bar. The home section, we don't need this home section. I'm going to remove the home section. The brand, we don't need, of course, this brand section. The new, we don't need this new section. The featured, we don't need the featured, and we don't need the banner either. I'm going to delete these two. The checkout and the watches, I'm going to delete these two as well. And shoes, we need to delete shoes, and we need to keep the footer. So in between the navigation bar and the footer, we just need to create a section that would display the contact information. So I'm going to create a new section here called contact, and it's going to be contact, and it's going to be a section. I'm going to say section, and I'm going to give it an ID. And also a class. So the class is, I'm going to give it the container, the bootstrap container class, as well as the my margin top bottom 5 and padding top bottom 5. And in this section, I'm going to display the contact information. But before I display the contact information, I'm going to display the contact us word above the contact information. So I'm going to first create a div which is also going to have the container class as well as the text align center class, because I want to center the text center, and I'm going to give it margin top 5, and inside it I'm going to display here the contact us word inside H3. I'm going to say contact us, and below this this contact us, I'm going to display the HR separator, and I'm going to give it the class mxauto. Below this HR, I'm going to use the paragraph, and I'm going to give this paragraph a class. That class would be W50, which is going to display the content in half width, and I'm going to give it margin right and left auto to center the paragraph. In the paragraph, I'm going to display the contact information. So you can display whatever you want, the way you want your customers to contact you. So you can display, for example, a phone number. It could be a phone number, it could be an email, could be anything you want. And you can display below it. I'm gonna just copy this, and in a new paragraph I'm gonna say email address. And then I'm gonna display here text. I'm gonna say whatever text you want to display. Let me save and let me head on over to the browser, and let me now head on over to the contact.html page. So in the contact page, as you can see now, it looks outstanding. We have the phone number, we have the email address, and we have this simple text. And it's preferably to display the phone number and the email in a different color, meaning that you can say here span, and then move the phone number over to this span here, inside this span. Similarly with the span here, similarly with the email, I'm gonna move the email, or I'm gonna type the email one more time, and I'm gonna remove this email. And in order to change the color in the CSS, I'm gonna open up the CSS, and in the CSS I'm just gonna say here contact, and then we have the contact ID. I'm gonna say contact and then span. So the color, again the color, I'm gonna use the orange color because I want to keep the color. I just want to use the same brand color for all pages. We don't want to be inconsistent. So as you can see now, the contact information is being displayed in a different color, which is better. Also, the contact us this could be displayed in orange, but I think black is perfect. So this is the contact us page. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to activate the navigation buttons in all pages. Because if you go, for example, to the shop page, and if you click on contact us, it's not gonna work. And if you go to the home page and click on contact us, it's not gonna work either. So we need to activate the links. So in the index, in the navigation bar, for the home, it's gonna be index.html. For the shop, it's gonna be shop.html. For the blog, if you have a blog, you need to display the link that would take the user to your blog. Usually, the blog is hosted outside your website, outside the website. So you need to have a link for it. If you don't, you need to remove this link completely if you don't have a blog. But for now, I'm just gonna keep it here empty. For the contact us, we need to say contact.html. For the home, for this I, we can add here a tag, and then push, and then take this I and display it inside the a tag, and then we can give this a tag href, and then account.html. And for the other icon, for the shopping icon, we need to take the user to the cart page. So I'm going to say here a tag, and then I'm going to say href is equal to cart.html, and then I'm going to copy the li and move it over to the a tag. So the I tag will be inside the a tag. Let me now save everything, and let's head on over to the browser to test. So now in the browser, let me refresh, And as you can see now, we are in the home page. If I click on Contact Us, it's going to take us to the Contact Us page. If I go back to the home page and if I click on Shop, it's going to take me to the Shop page. And again, for the blog, you need to have an external link for the blog. Here for this icon, if I click on it, it's going to take me to the cart page. For this icon, it should take me to the account page. And the home, it's going to take me to the home page. So in order to fix the links in other pages, for example, in the Contact Us, you just need to copy. Now all you need to do is that you need to close this navigation bar and copy it, and then replace it here. Instead of this, you can remove now this old navigation bar and paste the new one here in the Contact Us page. And you need to repeat the same thing with all pages so that the navigation bar links would work in all pages. Welcome back. Now it's time to create the database. And in order to create the database, the first step is that you need to make sure that your Apache web server as well as your MySQL database both running. Make sure that they are up and running. And then you need to head on over to the browser and then you need to type localhost/dashboard. And this is going to take you to the Apache web server, and you will be able to create a database. After you go to this address, localhost/dashboard, you can click on PHP My Admin. And here you can create a database. Let's create a database. In order to create a database, you need to click on New here on the left upper side of the website. So here I'm going to click on New, and this is going to allow you to type the name of the database. So here I'm going to type the name of the database. I'm going to name it PHP Project. So here I'm going to say PHP_project, and then I'm going to click on Create. After you click on Create, you will find that on the left side a database has been created and its name is PHP_project. So make sure that it has been created, and if you click on it, it will just here display no tables found in this database because there are no tables, but the database has been created. So now what we need to do is that we need to connect to the database. And in order to connect to the database, we need to create a file that's going to connect us to the database. So here I'm going to create a new folder and I'm going to name it server. And in this file, I'm going to add any code that has any relationship with the server. Any code that connects to the server or gets data from the server or inserts data into the server is going to be here. So in this file, I'm going to create in this folder, I'm going to create a new file called config or connection. Let's say connection.php. So this connection will connect to the database. So first I'm going to add here the PHP code here, and then here in order to connect to the database we need to call a function called mysqli underscore connect, and this function takes 4 parameters. The first parameter is the host name. The host name is local server, localhost for because I'm currently using the localhost. The second parameter is the username. So the username, in order to get the username, you need to get to the database, and I have already explained this. So the username in your database, if you click on user accounts, you should find so many accounts. So the account that I'm going to be using, since I'm using the localhost, I'm going to be using this one, root localhost, and the password is no. There is no password, and the global privileges is all privileges. So again, the username is root and the password is nothing. So the second parameter is the username. The username is root, and the third parameter is the password. So the password is nothing. So we need to pass here nothing. We need to pass empty quotes. The last parameter is the database name. So the database name, remember the database name is PHP underscore project, this database, PHP underscore project. Therefore, I'm going to pass here PHP underscore project. And I'm going to store this in a variable called con. Con is going to be equal to this. And instead of adding semicolon at the end, I'm going to say here or die. So what this is going to do is that it's going to attempt to connect to the database. Otherwise, it's just going to kill the connection. If we couldn't connect for some reason, any code that goes below this is never going to be executed. So I'm going to say here couldn't connect to database. Pretty simple. So that's it. In order to connect to the database, we just need this line of code, and then we can use this file in any other file that needs connection to the database. Lastly, we need just to click on File and then Save All. Welcome back. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add the tables that we need to the database. So remember the database that I created, which is PHP project, PHP underscore project. So in order to create the tables, you have two options. The first option is to type the name of the table, and then manually you need to type the name of columns and specify all of these things manually, or you can use SQL. So I have here this code that will allow me to create these tables quickly without the need of typing everything. So for example, I have here the products table, which will have the product ID, the product name, the category, etc. We have also orders, order items, users, all of these things. So instead of typing all of these and creating all of these tables manually, I'm gonna copy this this code, and then I'm gonna paste it in the SQL. You need to select first your database, this database, PHP project, and then click on SQL, and then you need to paste the code here. You need to paste that code here, and then click on Go, and this is going to insert these tables. Now, if you click on PHP project, you should find that we have here 4 tables. Let's examine one of them. So I'm going to examine the products. So as you can see, the products table has ID, name, category, description, etc. So this is how you can create a table quickly by using SQL. So now what we need to do is that we need to get these products from the database and display these products here we need to get them from the database and display them here. And in order to do that, we need to connect to the database and get these products. So here as well, we need to get these products. Here as well, we need to get these products. And to do all of this, the first step is that first you need to make sure that your Apache server is up and running and your database, MySQL database, is up and running. The next step is that we need to convert the index into PHP. So I'm going to rename this file, and this file is no longer going to be index.html. It's going to be index.php. And we no longer can run this file like this. We cannot just open it in the browser like this. Instead, we should, from now on, we need to click on View and then Terminal, and then we need to run the server, because PHP runs only on the server. So we need to say here PHP minus capital S, and then local host, and then colon 8000. So you need to type this command. You need to type this command in the directory of your project. And I'm using here, as you can see, I'm using the terminal that comes with the Visual Studio Code. If you chose to use another terminal, you need to make sure that you are pointing to your project folder. You need to make sure that you are in your project folder. And then here type PHP minus S, minus capital S, and then localhost colon 8000, and then hit enter. This is going to start a server, and here it says development server, this server started. Now we can copy this line, this URL, localhost colon 8000, and then in the browser, let me close this. We no longer can open this. I'm gonna close this, and then here I'm gonna paste the URL, which is http and then colon / localhost colon 8000. Now if I hit enter, guess what? I'm gonna get the same exact code. But the difference is that now I'm using PHP. Now we are working with the server. So now we are good to go. So this is a very important step that you need to do, which is running your server and going to the server in order to make sure that your server is up and running. And also make sure that you have converted your index.html to index.php. So now what we need to do is that we need to connect to the database and get these products. And to do that, we need to create a new file here in the server. I'm going to click on the server and then I'm going to create a new file called get featured products.php. And then this get featured products must connect to the database. Therefore, we need to say PHP, and then we need to say here include, and then we need to include the connection.php. And now we need to create an HTML. We need to create an HTTP query or SQL query that's going to connect to the database and get these products. And to do this, I'm going to here say con because now we included this connection, and this connection has a variable called con, which connects to the database. So here I said con, and then I'm going to call a function called prepare, and then here goes our SQL query. So here what I'm going to pass is that I'm going to say select because we need to get select all, we need to get all from products, and here we need to say semicolon. So this is going to get all the products, but we need to get only 4 products. We need to get here 4 products. Therefore, I'm going to say limit 4. We need only 4 products. And then I'm going to store this in a variable called stmt, statement. And then I'm going to say here statement, and then we don't need to pass anything. So all we need to do is to execute this query. So to execute this query, we need to say stmt and then execute and then semicolon. And then finally, we need to return this to the caller or store it in a variable. So I'm going to store this in a variable after saying here stmt and then get result. And then I'm going to store the variable in I'm going to store the result in a variable called featured underscore products. So this is the featured products. And we can use this in the index. So let me click on file and then save all. Now we need to include this get featured. By the way, I have here a spelling mistake. Let me rename this file get featured products. So make sure that you don't have any typos or spelling mistakes. Again here, featured products. Now we can include the get featured products in the index and get these products. But we need to find where the featured products are. So the featured products are here. And if I open this, you'll find that we have here 4 products hard-coded, and we don't want that. Instead, we need to remove all products and keep only 1 code, and then we can repeat that using a loop. This is where the power of PHP comes in. The power of PHP is that you don't have to repeat your code. You can type the code once and repeat it using a loop. Let me show you what I'm gonna do. So we need to find where is the first product. So the first product is this, and it ends, I think this is the end. So this is the first product. Therefore, we need to delete other products. So I'm gonna delete the second product. This is the second product. Let me remove it. Let me remove the third product, which is this. Let me remove also the last product. And you need to be very, very careful while removing. You wouldn't want to remove something you need. And here, let me add space. Here, this is the product. Let me save and let me make sure that I didn't break my code. So let me here refresh and show you that now we should have only one block. We have only one product. Now we can use PHP to repeat the product, because this get featured products will return the products, will return all of the products from the database. So to get all of the products, we need here to say PHP, we need to open a PHP tag, and then we need to include, and what we want to include is that we need to include the featured. So the get featured products is inside a file called server, and then / get featured products. So this is going to import this file. Now this file has a variable called featured products, and this featured products is an array. This is an array. So we can loop over this array here. Here I'm going to open a PHP tag, and then I'm going to say here, I'm going to close it first, and then I'm going to say while raw is equal to get featured products. Featured products. And then we need to call a function called fetch a source. And then we need to open a curly bracket. Just open, don't close it, just open it. And then at the end we need to close it. We need here to say PHP, and then we need to close it. Close the curly bracket. In between, we need now to display the products. So instead of displaying the hard-coded code here, text, we can remove this now, and then we can here say PHP, and then PHP, and then in between we can say echo, and then echo what? Echo raw, and then semicolon, and the name of the column that contains the name of the product. So the name of the column is products, product name, remember? Product name, product category, description, image. So we need to say product underscore name. For the price, we need to say here, we need to keep the $sign, and then we need to say PHP, and then PHP, and then echo raw product price. And for the image here, the image, we need to say here / PHP echo raw product image, and then semicolon, and that's it. So we have the product. Let me make sure that we have everything. We have the image, the name, and the price. So let me now save, and let me make sure that I don't have anything wrong. Let me now test. So let me here refresh, and as you can see, I'm gonna get the same exact products here, but the difference is now I got the products from the database. I'm not getting the products from hard-coded text. I'm getting the products from the database by using this loop. As you can see how powerful this is, because I'm just using a loop, and that loop will keep displaying the new products over and over and over again without the need of typing these things. So as you can see now, we have these products being displayed here. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to head on over to the single product.php, and in the single product.php we have access to the product ID. We have access to the product ID. So at the top, at the very top, before the HTML code, we need to add here PHP. Before the HTML, we need to add PHP, and then we need to get first here. We need to get the product ID. So the product ID is stored in a get in the get request. So we first need to make sure that we have the product ID. So I'm going to say if statement. I'm going to say here if is set get and then product ID product underscore ID. So if we have the product ID, remember the parameter, the get parameter is product underscore ID. Therefore here we need to say if is set get product ID, then we can now make a request to the database and get the product ID. Else we need to return back to the home page. So else, if we don't have the product ID, we need to say header location, and then header location index.php. We need to go back to the home page. So let me test. So if I go to the single product without, as you can see, without specifying the product ID, if I try again single underscore product, if I try to go to the single product without specifying an ID, it's going to take me to the home page because we don't have a product. So this no product ID was given. So we need to get the product ID. In case we have the product ID, we need to make a request. So I'm going to copy a code from the server get featured products. We have this code, so I'm going to copy this code and then I'm going to paste it here because it's going to be the same, but it's going to be a little different. So here we need to say, let me push this first. Here I'm going to say con prepare select all from products, but we don't need to say we need to say actually limit 1 because we need only one product. But before limit we need to say where product ID is equal to question mark, and the limit now is not important because the product ID is unique, so there is no need to say limit product ID. Now we need to say statement stmt, and then we need to say bind underscore params, and then we need to pass here the type. The type is integer, and the second parameter is the ID. So we need to create here a variable called product ID, product underscore ID. So the product ID is going to be equal to get product ID, product ID. and then we need to say, we need to pass it here, product ID. And here it should be bind param, not params. Bind param. So make sure that the spelling is correct. And let's also use the my SQLI and that's it. Now we need to say product. Here it's going to be not products, it's going to be only product. Product and then get result. Statement get result. And we can use this product now in the bottom. In the bottom, let me, instead of displaying the product is here. So the product here, single product. So here, instead of displaying the image like this, I'm going to remove this image. And then I'm going to say here, PHP. And then PHP. But before I forgot something important, which is the while. So we need to say here while, and then actually we need first PHP, and then while. Let me give myself some space and show you how this is gonna look like. While, and then while, and then only one single curly bracket, and then while raw is equal to product fetch a sauce, and then at the end of this the end of this div. So here this div, this is the end. So here we need to say PHP, close the curly bracket, and then close the PHP angular bracket. And then here we need to say PHP and then echo. And then what we need to echo is that we need to echo the raw with the product image. Product underscore image. And I'm going to explain something very important here, by the way. That's fine. So I'm going to explain something important here. You might be wondering why we have a while loop, but even though we have a one single product, the reason is because this is going to return an array. So this is going to return an array, but in this case, this array will contain only one single product. Therefore, we need to loop over the array, but we will loop over one single product. So don't worry about this. Even though this is an array, there will only be one product. For the small images, we need to display the small images. So here, for example, here we have an error, so I cannot test now. Let me finish first. So here I'm going to say, I'm going to repeat the same code. So I'm going to copy this code. I'm going to copy this code, and then I'm going to paste it here. But in the first, we need to say product underscore image, just image. In the second, we need to say PHP echo raw product image 2, product image 2, because we have, remember, the columns are image, product image 2, product image 3, and product image 4. So we have here product image 2, and then here we need to say echo product image 3, and lastly product image 4. And for the product information, we have the product name is I think the product name is this one, product name, and here the product price. So let's display the product price. Here I'm going to say echo product price. And here we need to say echo product name. And instead of these paragraphs, I'm going to say echo and then product description. and we are good to go. Let me save and let me by the way, I have here an error. I should get this here, the closing curly bracket, and then add it here. I should add it here. I have a problem. It should be here because the raw should be inside the loop. So make sure that this curly bracket after we are done. Let me now save and let's test. Let me save and now let me go back and test. So I'm going to refresh first, and then I'm going to click on one of these products. Let's click on the first one, and we have an error here. It says gone, undefined variable. So the reason is because at the top we forgot a very important thing, which is include the connection. Remember, we need to say server /connection. Let me save and let me test one more time. So now we should have the product. So if I refresh, as you can see, I'm going to get this product, and I'm going to get the same four images. The reason is because I don't have other images. I have only the same exact image, but if you add other images, they will be displayed here. And the information is correct. So white shoes, 155, product details, awesome white shoes. Let's make sure that everything is working. Let me click on the second product. So if you click on the second product, it's going to display again the green bag, 155, and everything is fine. Let me check the third one here, black bag, 250, awesome black bag. So it works successfully, and now we know how to get to a specific to a single product page with that specific product. Welcome back. Now what I need to do is that I need to take the user to the single product page whenever they click on buy now. So for example, if the user is interested in buying this bag, then they would click on buy now. And by clicking on buy now, we want to take them to the single product page where we will display only that specific product and more information about that product. And from there, they can add it to cart. So the first step is that we need to convert the single product page into PHP. So I'm going to here rename this file, and then I'm going to say single product.php. So the file is no longer an HTML file. So now this single product.php is obviously a PHP file. The second step is that we need to add link to the button. So this button, I'm gonna add a tag, and I'm gonna surround it with a tag. So I'm gonna copy the a tag. I'm gonna copy the button, and then I'm gonna paste it inside the a tag. And then I'm gonna give this a tag href. I'm gonna say href. So the href is gonna be equal to single underscore product.php. Let me save and let me head on over to the browser, and let me click on one of these buttons. So if I click on buy button, it should take me to the single product. But if I click on the second product, it's going to take me to the same exact page, and it's going to display the first product. And if I click on the third product, it's going to take me to the same page, and it's going to display the first product. And obviously this is not dynamic because we are displaying now a static code. So we need to make the process dynamic, and then we need to display the correct product if we click on buy now. So how can we do that? To do that, we need here to say in the href, we need to add here a question mark, and then product ID underscore ID is equal to, and then we need to get that ID from PHP. So I'm going to say here PHP, and then I'm going to say echo, and then I'm gonna say product raw, and then product ID. product. Let me close this. Product underscore ID, and then semicolon. So where did I get this product? Where did I get this row from? This row is obviously from this loop, and product ID is the ID of the product. Because if you check the database one more time, you will find that the products table, if you go to the products table, you should find that the ID is, the column for the ID is product underscore ID. So again, if I go to the products table, we have product underscore ID. So we can use this product ID. And you can, instead of doing this, which is a little tricky, you can actually copy this and remove it from here, and then you can add it in the echo. So you can add it here, echo, and here double quotes, and then here double quotes, and then dot, and then draw product ID. This is also going to work. So there are two versions. You can use the first version that I have shown you, or this version. Let me save and let me test. So this should take you again to the product ID, to the single product page. So I'm going to click on buy now, and it's going to take me to the product page. But now, guess what? Now in the browser we have here the product ID in the URL. So why did I pass the product ID? The reason is because by passing the product ID, I will be able to get the correct product information and display the product here. So if I click on the second product, I should here get product ID is equal to 2. If I click on the third product, it's going to say here product ID is equal to 3. So now it worked, and the next step is that we need to use this product ID to get the product information and display product information instead of displaying the static code. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to add the product to the cart. So for example, if the user goes to this product and wants to add this product to the cart and clicks on add to cart, nothing is going to happen, and we need to activate this button. So to activate this button, we need to take data from here and insert it into the cart and store it into the cart. And to do this, we need to use sessions. So what I'm going to do is that here we have this single product page which displays this page. And in order to store that in the cart, once the user clicks on add to cart, we need, as I told you, we need to use the session. So we need to go to the cart page. This is the cart page. And let me show you the cart page. So let me go to the cart page first. I'm going to go to the cart.html. And in the cart page, we need to display this product. So for example, if I click on add to cart, we need to take the user to this cart page and display the product that they have added to the cart. And all of this will be done in the cart.html. But first we need to convert this cart.php into cart.html into PHP. So I'm gonna change the name, the extension from HTML to cart.php. And then this cart at the top, I'm gonna add a PHP code. Here at the top, I'm gonna add here PHP code. But before I work on the code here, we need to work on the code in the single product.php. But before working on the cart, we need to work on the single product.php, because in the single product, we need to take the product from here all the way to the cart. So in the single product, remember we have the product information here. And in order to transfer the product information from here, we need to add a form, but this form is going to be hidden. So here what I'm going to do is that I'm going to look for the loop. Where is the loop? Here is the loop. So I'm going to create here a form. I'm going to say here form which should contain the image. So I'm going to start the form from here. The form is going to start from here. I'm going to say form, and then I'm going to close the form just above this curly bracket. And then this form will take first a method, and the method is going to be post and action. So the action is going to be the cart. So I'm going to say cart.php. And we need to pass the following. First, the image. So in order to pass the image, we need here to create inputs. So I'm going to create hidden inputs with the data that I want to pass. So I'm going to say here input, and that input type is hidden. I'm going to say hidden, and I'm going to say name. The name is going to be image. Let's say image, product image. I'm going to say product image, and product image, and I'm going to say value. The value is very important. We need to store the value. So the value is going to be equal to the image. So I'm going to copy this. The value is this. And below we need to create another input. I'm going to say input, and then I'm going to say type, and the type is going to be again hidden, and the name is going to be, we need to pass the in the cart we only need one image. We don't need all of the images, so we need the image, we need the product name and the price and the description. Let me check one more time. So here we need the we don't need the description, we actually need the name and the price. So the name here, I'm going to say name, product underscore name, and then the value. So the value is here, PHP. And instead of repeating this code, let me copy the code. Let me paste it here, and then I'm gonna just change. I'm just going to change here product name. Third, we need another input, so I'm gonna copy this input now. There is no need to repeat this, and then we're gonna paste it below, and we need the price, product underscore price, product price. And let me check one more time, what else do we need? So we need the name, the image, the price, the quantity. So we need the quantity. So the quantity, we can get the quantity. Remember here, this is the quantity. So the quantity exists here. The quantity is tricky because the quantity is here. This is the input for the quantity. So the quantity is the only one that's not gonna be hidden. So we need to say input here, and then type, and then the value. The value is initially 1, and I'm gonna say here name, and the name is gonna be product quantity, and the value is gonna be here 1, and if the user changes the quantity, it's gonna be changed. So we don't need to use PHP for it. So this is for the quantity. What else do we want? We don't want anything else. I think we are good to go. So again, we need the image, we need the quantity, we need the name, and then we need the price, and finally we need the button. So we need to activate the button. So this is the button. This button, we need to use input for this button, or say we can say here type submit. You can say type submit, and we need to give it a name as well. I'm going to say name, and the name is let's say product. Let's say add to cart. Add to cart. And let me save, and let me now head on over to the browser, and let me go back, and let me click on this buy now. But as you can see, you will find nothing here, and the component will be displayed below, and this is a problem. So to fix this problem, we need to copy the form. We need to copy the form, and then we need to remove it from here, and then we need to display the form here. we need to display the form only here. Here, I'm going to paste the form, and then I'm going to close the form here. I'm going to close the form here, and then I'm going to remove this form from here. I'm going to remove this closing tag. So the form, let me fix everything so that everything becomes clear. Let me also add this button. I'm going to add the bit, and then I'm going to display it here. So let me now fix everything and walk you through the code one more time. So what I did is that I just added a form with hidden inputs and only two inputs that will be displayed, the add to cart and the quantity. That's it. Here, this is the form. And then I'm going to click on File and then Save All. And now let me refresh, and this should fix it. So let me here show you. So as you can see, now it fixed the form. Now if I click on Add to Cart, it's going to take me to the cart page. But we need now to fetch the data from the post parameter, because data now has been stored in the post parameter of PHP.